is this accelerated learning by re-envisioning education. Then how it looks with universal implementation and our local choices. So what's going on at your school. And then here's a video, just it's a promo video about using Seesaw, but since this is a advanced course, I'm not going to spend too much time on some of these things altogether. I did want to make sure that they were all in our slide deck though, so that we have those resources in common that everybody can have just to go over. It has been over the summer and stuff, so I wanted to make sure that we had some common starting points, and then we'll get into some of the more advanced features of Seesaw. So our objective today is engaging learning experiences that make thinking and learning visible. You're going to hear that a lot from me today, is the thinking and learning visible. We can, with worksheets, know that our students know how to do multiplication and division, and that they can write a full paragraph with complete sentences. We can do all that stuff. But with Seesaw, we actually can see the learning process instead of just the product because of the tools that they have built in, and it allows us to really aggregate a lot of the information that's coming in. The progress tool is something we're going to be using a lot today, and is a really, really awesome thing to make that thinking and learning visible. So overview of Seesaw, kind of how it fits into our greater environment in DPS. We have our systems within Seesaw, so the things that are built in, so the record tool, the uploading from all of our Google Suites here. We also have the ability to insert different things, including what we're going to be talking about in a little bit here is app smashing. So we have Sora, Pear Deck, EdPuzzle, Google Meet, all of these things are provided by the district this year, which is new. So if you like had a trial of Screencastify or Pear Deck in the past, the district has purchased all of these this year, which is really exciting. So we're going to be going over all of that. And then Infinite Campus is your attendance and your official grades. Seesaw is not 100% used for grading. It's more used for feedback than grading. So Infinite Campus will be your place for that. So logging in, again, this is advanced, so I'm not going to go into this too much. Just log in through Clever is our preferred way. All of your classes should be rostered to you already. So if you open up your Seesaw while we're in our session today, you will have all of your classes ready to go in Clever, and they would log in the same way. We have our product integration team that has been working all summer to get your classes created and your students rostered. Like I was just saying, they just do that through the Clever sign-in, and that gives you access to a whole lot of different apps out there. So it's the same process this year, and all homerooms this year are rostered. So if you were a multilingual teacher or you were a special teacher and stuff, we had some different processes over this last year. This year, all homerooms are rostered. Any additional classes that you want, you can just build. The easiest way to do that is by adding a student and typing in their student number. So that's the easiest if you need to create any classes. If you want to do like any small group breakouts or have interventions, that'll all need to be created by you. If you want, the homeroom teacher can add in specials. They are not automatically added in. So if you want to have like all of your specials in your homeroom class, they can do that. If you want to have your specials as a separate class, they can do that as well. Yes, so you have the ability to create as many classes as you want this year, Emily. Yeah, thanks for the question. You can create a way. There's no limit in Seesaw to how many that you have. Just be mindful that you need to teach students how to switch the courses, and then if they have 25 courses, it might be a little bit hard for them, but I'm sure you'll be good. So then this is just if you want to add any other co-teachers. This is more often used this year with like any paras or interventions that you want to have in your course. These are the screenshots of how to add somebody. This is the same as last year as well. And then again, just kind of setting a baseline here before we get into some more advanced features. The activity library is always great. And right up here at the top, you'll see our school and district library. So we have a whole ton of resources. If you look up DPS EdTech in the library, I'll actually push this, put it in here. So it's DPS EdTech. You will see a whole bunch of templates that we have made, including some new ones. We just added one last week for podcasting. So if you want like a cool template to get your students podcasting, we have those templates in the library, and you can do a search in the library for all of that information and see a whole bunch in there. The library is completely vetted, so it's not like the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Everything on there is just for you to use. You can copy and edit activity, customize it. So I will give the caveat that some of it's not the greatest just because it's any teacher can post there. And not all of it is exactly on grade level. Going in there sometimes looking for second grade math, a lot of the stuff is hitting first grade standards. So just that caveat, but it is great. They oftentimes giving us starting spots or using the DPS EdTech ones that we've created for you. Then you can add in for each student. Highly recommend doing differentiated groups. So just choosing a handful of students by doing the edit, assigning to a small group of students is always the best thing to do instead of just having wide assigned to everybody in the class. And then, again, I'm not going to play this video, but I wanted to make sure that you all had the resource here. If you want to do anything with Google Drive, this is the way to do it. So this video walks you through how to make a copy for every student, and then how then you would have access to this. This is not done automatically in Seesaw, but this process works well. When I was a technology teacher, I was doing this with kindergartners and first graders, and it was working just fine. That was before the days of Google Classroom. That's how old I am. Or any of these fancy LMSs. I was teaching elementary before Seesaw was invented too. Yeah, this is the whole process here, and you'll get to hear me narrate that one because I've been using that process for a long time. And I'm going to pause for questions in just a minute because I know we've covered a lot, but this is all kind of just like baseline stuff before we get to the advanced content. So another option that you have to consider when you're setting up your class at the beginning of the year this year is, do you want all students to see all student work? So in your settings, you can see that on this example here that items are required for approval. So they're not just posted for everything. And that students can see each other's work. So every time you approve something, it's going to go to your class journal. And then everybody's going to be able to see that student work. The other option is to turn off student work and then just enable the blog. And for exemplar work or work that you want students discussing, then you can just post student work to the blog. This is a consideration when you have students that are at varying ability groups and students that might have some concerns with maybe IEP work. If they're doing some intervention stuff in the class and their work looks different. I've heard this from parents before, is that they're really wanting to be mindful of what their work looks like. So it's just an option. Do you want to have it open? Do you want to have that open communication between everybody in the class, or do you want to have kind of a more curated student work experience? It's really up to you on that. So just baseline, getting ready to get going. So I'm going to pause here and say, do we have any other questions? I know we've already had some coming up in the chat. Okay. Well, you know what? And we're like 15 minutes into this. I don't think I introduced myself. I was just ready to go at 8 o'clock this morning. All right, so my name is Luke Mund, and I'm the digital coach supervisor this year. So I used to be a digital coach helping with Seesaw a ton last year, and now I have a team of digital coaches that I work with. Seesaw is always in my heart. I love Seesaw. My daughter is now that my other daughter is in kindergarten, use Seesaw, and I really see the power of it. So it's something I'm passionate about, and I've seen really transformative in elementary classes. So I'm excited for it that we have it for another year. Teachers are loving it and administrators are loving it. And thank you to my helpers posting things in the chat. I appreciate that. All right, and here is one more template to, I was saying an example with our hashtag DPS EdTech. So this is a template of a full lesson. I don't know so much this year with everybody being in person, how much you're going to actually want to have the entire lesson in there. You might want to use it for just pieces. But here's a lesson template and how to break it down for CLO, any homework that you have. We have a number of different templates on the library, and you can find other teachers too. I've actually seen some elementary schools partner with templates because like they were using Bridges Math, and they knew each other as grade level teams across their region. And so they would work together and they would always publish their Bridges Math materials so that then they could use each other's across schools. They would just post that work to the DPS library, which is really cool to see collaboration and making sure that we're working smarter. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead to the main event stuff now. So as you're getting started this year, one of the biggest considerations is going to be how you want to organize. And this has changed slightly this year. So we have some kind of updated guidance for this. So in the past, we've said to make folders for each of your content areas and then the week of. So you can see like a week of August 17th. This week of now is more of an optional thing if you want because of the progress tool. So the progress tool will break everything down automatically by date. So if you want to go into your progress and look at everything from the week of the 17th, it's all going to be there in chronological order. And so I would say personally, I would stop using the week of, but I just want to throw it out there. And if you want to do something like my daughter's school, she has homework for the week. You could put like homework for the week of August 17th or something like that to organize it. Just making sure that you're always using a folder when you create a new activity to help organize that. So like by science, by math. This makes things a lot easier. Emily?
So basically, like we don't need the week of anymore because progress monitoring is doing that for us. Is that kind of what you're saying? Okay.
So that's an option. I just wanted to throw it out there again, like how you want to set up your class. Personally, I would just go by content area and then use progress to do the chronological. Yeah, progress is really awesome. We're going to spend a good amount of time on there today. Then how do you find your folders if you want to just grade like your literacy or if you're platoon teaching in your setting, this is really great. Hey, I do literacy and social studies, so you want to go into your classes and grade for just those. So you can just come into the class journal, click on the folder, and then filter by just that activity content. And then, like I mentioned before, the class blog is another advanced feature that you can use. You can use this whether or not you're choosing to have all student work published to the journal. This is a really, really easy way to provide feedback to students, both by using exemplars, right? You can just say, hey, Johnny did a really great job, or Hamana had really great complete sentences on this. However you want to do that. But then also you can have the students giving each other feedback. So you can choose like 4 pieces of student work, post them to the blog, and then have the other students give them feedback on here. So feedback is definitely one of our improvement strategies as a district this year, and the class blog is something that's amazing for that. You do have to enable the class blog though, just going into your class at the beginning of the year. It's not going to be turned on yet, but you can see the steps here of enable class blog, and that students can post to the blog and get that turned on. So that's a really awesome way to give each other feedback. All right, we're doing great this morning. So progress. Yes, hallelujah, here we go. So this feature launched in April. You may or may not have seen it then at the end of the school year last year. So across the top is the chronological order of the activities. You can adjust the date range to whatever date range you want. By default, when you go in there, I believe it usually shows me the last week of work, and then you can extend that out as you go further and further back. Then you have all of your students here. This looks more like a traditional grade book, but if you notice, it doesn't have like grades. So this is not like when I was also teaching middle school and I'd give a student, 8 out of 10 on a homework assignment, or 17 out of 20 on a project. These dots really show you what has been turned in, and I'm going to hit that in just a second. You can also filter by different things. So this is just by date range here, but you can turn on filters by students. So you can select individual students or groups of students, by your folders, which again, we're recommending by your content area. So again, if you want to come in and grade for literacy, you can just come straight in and filter for just your literacy folders here, and it'll pop up just your literacy activities for the last month. If you want to do like a parent-student conference here, you can filter by student, and then like, let's look at their math activities. Oh, wait. Student X has only been doing half of their Seesaw math activities. And you can see that in the visuals really positive there. Half. So the student summary then on the left-hand side here, how many activities they have completed. And if you are doing approved work, that would be how many approved. So if you can see here, Carlos in this example has turned in 42 of the 45. And then Amy here has only turned in 23 of the 54. You can notice here the colors too can kind of give an indication. Right now it's set on a color scale that uses red and yellow. You can change the colors by hitting the gear here. This is showing active assignments. So if you archive something, it's going to disappear from here. Just so you know on that. Oftentimes then what I'll say, instead of archiving a past activity, is that if you have something from 2 weeks ago, say you finished a science unit and you now want to move on to social studies, you can just unassign it from those students who haven't turned it in yet, or mark it as complete for them. So then it's still in their work, but it's not showing as like an active thing here. So the colors are something that, progress is not parent visible at all. So just FYI. So the progress is not, the parents see just the feed of their student work. So like when I log into my parent app, I can see all of my daughter's work with the most recent at the top. So they don't see this view at all. So thank you for that question, Amy. So then the check mark means that it's turned in. If you've assigned a skill next to it too, you can see here, like the 4-star would be that the student got a 4 on the skills, or a 3-star would be on that. If it's not turned in at all, like the student hasn't done it at all, it's this red circle. If they've submitted it, but it hasn't been approved, it's this green check. So no shame, but I've seen a lot of teachers that can have several hundred activities that haven't been approved, right? So this would be a good place to come in here and you can just click on it. This is really awesome too. I love the progress for so many reasons, but you can just click on one of these like green checks that's not filled in and it will pull up the student activity and you can approve it from right there. So you can do it. Yeah, that's a celebration, Emily. I see you. It's so awesome. I love progress. So it'll pull up those activities so you can see it. And also then you have these, what is that, like yellow? Yeah, yellow. Check mark. That means that the student has opened and started it, but has not submitted it yet. So totally love those students that love to start their work and don't hit the submit button. Literally seen hundreds and thousands of those in the last year. So that's the different checks and stuff. This is where I would come personally to do any grading or reviewing of my class. I love then it breaks it down by the assignment. So you can see that this one here, the clap the syllables, everybody turned in. So it gets that dark green bar versus the activity that I've turned in more recently here has this red bar here and showing that a lot of students have not. So then I can examine the activity. Maybe that was too difficult or too intense for the students to do, but they're really into clapping the syllables. You can see the different feedback here. This was something that was completely unavailable before progress, is that you kind of just had to look at your assignments and see what was turned in and what was not. This gives you a lot of information on that. You can also just click on the activity from here and it opens up that classic Seesaw activity view where then you see all of your students and stuff. So progress is where I would spend a lot of my time as a teacher doing any of the reviewing, approving work, looking for student feedback.
Hey, Luke.
Yes.
On the parent side, there's a question in the comments about being able to see kind of the things you're talking about from the teacher perspective. Can you see some of those things from the parent perspective as well?
So progress is not available yet to parents. So anything that you have in here is just completely parent or teacher facing. Students don't see this either. There are plans in the future to have this available for them, but it's not there yet. Yeah, good question. Also then like filtering by student. So here, if I want to look at Brian's progress, say I'm going to an IEP meeting or an MTSS meeting or parents are having questions. If I click on Brian's name here, you can see he has 3 not started, 1 in draft, 2 waiting for approval, and 34 complete. So that means he has 34 out of 40 activities completed, which he's doing pretty good, I would say. You know, I give that feedback to other educators or to the parents based off of that. And then again, you can view by just the activity as well if you want to see all of that. And then, sorry, I think I was mentioning it before, but the color scale is defaulted to the red, yellow, and then light green, dark green. You can change that to like an all green scale if you want. But again, this is not student facing and it's not parent facing. So the colors are up to you. There's just up here in the gear settings, you can change your color scale for progress. So it has like a little section for progress and you can change the color scale. And then again, you can click to approve a post straight from the progress, which is really awesome there. That really helps teachers stay on top of those hundreds of activities that you have coming in. And then this is, sorry, my image is a little off here. This is the view when you have just one student that's pulled out. So if you double click on a student, it pulls this all up. This is a great report if you're going to want to like print something or email it to a parent. One of the complaints I've heard from administrators specifically is like, there's not like a missing work report or something for students. So if you pull it up by students, you can actually see this. So you can see the 3 that are not started, 1 that's in draft. If you email this out, these links will be active. So you can email this to a parent and say, hey, your student needs to catch up in these. I really just want you to focus on the drafts because your student has a lot. Yeah, so if you double click on a student's name, this will pull up here.
And that copy link can be put in like a school deets or digital deets message.
Yes, I believe. Let's go ahead and do this. Actually, we're doing great on time. So let me pull this up. And
Thank
we'll
you.
play
Because
with it.
that's clutch right there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Sorry, let me just pull up my Seesaw real quick. We'll go through one of these. Okay, so this is just an example class, so I'm gonna be missing a whole lot of activities and stuff in this one, so don't judge my classroom. So you can see in here, then this is my class with a whole lot of unapproved things. So you can see then when I hover over an activity, it gives me the report for that one. If I hover over Brian here, it shows me that he has 6 of his 25. And then when I go, I double click, no, where is that report? There we go, okay. There the double click worked. So here then I have his report with all of his links. If I go copy here, then maybe let's try to pull up a doc. Let's see if this pays. Okay, so then I just opened up like a Google Doc, or this could be like your school deets or something here. You can see all of the activities, and then it has the links for it. So if a parent gets this like in their email or something, they can just grab this link here, and it's the daily math for May 14th here. So that they can then open it up. So if you want to do a different messenger in here, you can send this out. Good question. And then here too, I can just straight up print this. I would say that it's best to have it in that digital format so they can copy and paste those links and they can go in there. Obviously, they can just go into like Brian's activity feed and see all the things he hasn't done. But this is a really nice report. Or like if you have an interventionist or like a counselor, and you say, hey, I'm kind of worried about Brian, you can then send the counselor this list and say, look, he has 19 activities that he hasn't started yet in my class. I would really love if we could come up with some ways that we can get him caught up. Or maybe you highlight, I really want him to do these 5 most recent. You know, can we work with him and his family to get these things done? So really valuable information that we didn't have until this all launched in April. I hope you guys like Progress as much as I do, because it's freaking awesome. I think it's a game changer. Like it really like took things to the next level with Seesaw and made it that much easier for our teachers to use. Okay, so then I'll pause here. You guys have been awesome about dropping in your questions into the chat, but do we have any other questions before I move away from Progress?
I just had one question. I put it in the chat, but is that report that you opened, is that also by the date range, or is it just all the activities that have ever been assigned?
That's by the individual student there, like Brian, that's all of his that I have.
Okay, so you can't do a report for like just like the last week.
That's a great question. Let's try it. We're doing great on time, so I'm gonna play around with this. Let's go to a little bit less. Okay, so that filtered down. There you go. It does work that way. So the less date range, then it pulls it up. So if I want to do like the last week, here's his missing activities. Look at that. Good questions today. You guys are asking me things I don't know.
Hey Luke, can you?
Figure out together.
Hey Luke, can you show that again? Sorry.
Yeah, so up here, the selected dates, I just changed the range to something less than, so like before I had it turned on for like the entire year. So I just turned it on for the most recent ones, so you can see the most recent activities. Then when I pull up Brian, there we go. Then it just pulls up the ones from that range. So before I was showing like everything from the year, now I'm just showing since the spring, and it's just showing these ones.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Brian's one of our digital coaches for the Northwest. So if you're in a Northwest, Brian, you can tell him he needs to turn in his Seesaw activities. All right, any other questions before we move on to app smashing? Yes, and Emily, good call out too with the archive. You don't need to worry about archiving so many things then when you can do a specific date range for that report. All right, so as much as I love progress, I also love app smashing. And that's just kind of like a ed tech term that we have of like using different apps together. So that's kind of the like app smashing thing. So how do we take all these tools that DPS has purchased for us or that we use with our students? So if you use like Epic Reading, right, you want to use that with your students. How do you get that within Seesaw? Seesaw is the best platform to have everything started with, especially if you're thinking like K1, 2. It's best to say it's in Seesaw, it's in Seesaw. Parents, it's in Seesaw. Where's the homework? It's in Seesaw, right? Makes communication really, really simple. I will say, just given my personal experience here, when remote learning started for my daughter, she was in kindergarten. I had, no joke, 6 logins and all of these different places that I needed to go to support my daughter through remote learning. And it was insane. Trying to be, she needs to do 20 minutes of iReady. She needed to do writing in Google Classroom. She needed to do her reading through Learning A to Z. She had just all of these places to go to. Even if you have other like logins or other programs, if Seesaw can be the launching off spot, that will make things a lot easier. So if you want students to do 20 minutes of iReady, you can just make an assignment like every night, 20 minutes of iReady, have the link for iReady there, and then they just hit that green submit button whenever they're done with their iReady, just so that you can keep track of it and have it in one spot. For the parents out there, that's just my parent hat and something I'm passionate about for that. So PearDeck. PearDeck is a tool that we use in DPS. Here's our one pager on it, our link, and maybe somebody can drop that one in the chat here as well. So PearDeck is a tool to make any activity more interactive. So you can give student polls here. You can do social emotional check-ins with PearDeck. PearDeck is just any way that you want to interact with your students. If you like doing your lessons through Google Slides, so like you're going to give your math lesson through Google Slides, you can add in PearDeck really easily and then be able to have students turn in their math questions as they're doing the lesson. So you get that instant feedback. There's the buzzword. They should give me another $1 for using feedback again. So getting that feedback from your students as they're doing it instead of like collecting their work at the end. Thank you, Zuri, for posting that one pager. So instead of like, okay, we've all done our practice problems, now turn them in to me at the end. You have that feedback as they're going. And one of the cool things too is that you can pull up Amy's work and post it up on the board, and then you can analyze it. So you can correct any mistakes that she does or see that her math work went step by step exactly right, and go Amy for that one. So it's really cool. The way that you would just do it here then is posting the link, because each PearDeck has a different link, and so students would just have to click on that. You do have full premium this year. As the district, we have this. And then I'll also say part of our premium too, if you have older students and you want them to be able to be creative in their own rights, they have full premium as well for Pear Deck, so they can create their own Pear Decks. So say you're doing an animal research project and they can make a video, they can do a diorama, or they want to do a slide deck. They can make their own Pear Deck with their slide deck and like give questions to their classmates as they're giving their presentation. It's super awesome to see that. And kids just love seeing that. Adults love it too, but like elementary, they love the polls where the bars go up and down as people are changing their answers and stuff. Like it just gets them so into the lesson, and it gives you that feedback right away. So just grabbing that Pear Deck link and posting it in with an activity. So this can just be, hey, for math today, here's our Pear Deck link. Then any students that are absent also can come back and they can see that Pear Deck as well. So they'll be able to see the poll that you did on slide 4. They'll be able to see the student answers that were turned in on slide 7. So if any student is missing for the day, say they're on quarantine or say they're on vacation or something like that, then they can access the content more than just having the original slides. We also have Screencastify Premium. Oh, I should have updated here. It should say Premium because we do. Screencastify Premium allows you for screen recording for greater than 5 minutes. So built into Seesaw already is, like in our lesson template from before, a 5-minute video, up to 5-minute video that you can record for your students. That can be simple updates, that can be instructions. Really thinking of language learners and littles that you might have to have verbal or auditory lesson explanations for them, you can use the tools in here. But if it's going to be something that's maybe a little bit longer, then you have Screencastify Premium. It's just an extension that you add, so you can go to the Google Chrome store and add the extension. It's real quick. You can record your desktop, you can do your webcam only and hit record. You do have pretty much unlimited storage of all the videos, and you have a full suite of video editing. So again, if any student wants to do projects, they have access to Screencastify Premium as well. So they can record their videos, say they want to record their screen and then they want to record themselves and they want to splice those two videos together. Kids are remarkably good with video editing. I don't know how, maybe it's just that they're really passionate, and the amount of time students have asked me to look at their YouTube channel, it has been like insane in my career. They love video creation. So this is a very easy way to do it. It's pushed out to every student's Chromebook. So if you have Chromebooks in your class, this is already there for them. They just need to go click. The first time they have to do it, they just have to link it with their Google Drive account, and it's going to save all of those videos right there in their drive. And it's super easy to use, really takes our lessons to that next level. Going back to like our objective at the beginning of the lesson, or at the beginning of the presentation today, is like making that learning visible. This is way more feedback, way more information we can get from our students than just traditional classroom activities. Screencastify, yay. We also have EdPuzzle, and this is another premium thing that we have purchased this year. Luckily, we have some extra funds from the pandemic and stuff this year so that we can buy these things. EdPuzzle allows you to take educational videos and then be able to make them interactive. So you can find TED Talks, you can find YouTube videos. So if you want to do like crash course history, and there's this really cool video, and we know like, hey, a 6-minute YouTube video can oftentimes explain things better than me talking about something for 10 minutes because they have graphics flying in there. The host is really energetic, and maybe the kids are just tired of listening to Mr. Mund go on for the 3rd hour of today in our elementary class. So they can come in here and they can watch the EdPuzzle, and you can have it that it pauses the video and makes them answer questions. You can have that as like open feedback questions, or you can have that as like poll questions or multiple choice that they come up. And you can do this two ways. So you can have it as asynchronous, that they just have a video they need to watch on their own, or they grab headphones while they're doing like their station rotations and you have like a literacy video or something you want them to watch. Or they have a feature where you can put a video up on the board, everybody follows along on their Chromebooks, and then it's gonna pause the video and everybody has to answer on their Chromebooks. And then you can play the video again, pause, everybody answers a question on their Chromebooks. So it makes those videos really interactive. So you can even do this if your school like does announcement videos or like student government videos. You can have it as being interactive by even having a video that you're playing up front. Okay, and then we have a question here.
Amy, maybe you could say more about your question about Pear Deck.
Yeah, I've used PearDeck in the past, and it just I didn't know if there's like any sort of like organization to like group your sessions together, like my math lessons or slides together. Like what's the easiest or like most efficient way to kind of stay organized? Like it looks like all my stuff from last year got archived. So just have a really big long list of stuff.
Yeah, so good question. Whenever you end a Pear Deck, so you give your students this link here and then it says launch Pear Deck, and you end it, it's gonna ask you to save your session. And if you just like name this is August 18th math. And so like that's the naming convention I always used in my classroom. And then you can have it saved. And if you're gonna do, say like you're a platooning teacher and you have 2 math classes, then you can choose which one you're posting in which class as well, so that they're getting theirs. But each Pear Deck will have a unique saved link at the end if you choose to name it. If you go unnamed, it's not gonna save it. So if it's something that you just did like a quick social emotional check-in with your students and you don't need to save it, then you just don't give it a session name. Does that help answer your question? Okay. And then I'm just gonna throw this out there because this is advanced. I wouldn't say this if it wasn't advanced, but here's a video how to get EdPuzzle and Screencastify all working together. So you can record a video like of yourself or in your class with Screencastify, then get it into EdPuzzle by following these steps, have your questions and stuff on there. You can make sure that the students watch the full video in EdPuzzle too. It'll say, hey, Emily only watched 47% of this, or Zuri watched the full thing. And so you can use these 2 apps together, but this is really advanced stuff. So that's why it's at the end of our advanced session today. And you can watch this video. It's really cool. I wish I had that available for my classroom because then I would have done a lot more video lessons, but I knew that my videos could be interactive and I would ensure everybody had it. So I'm gonna pause here for questions, and then I'll show you how we do our survey and make sure you get credit for it today. So any other questions? We're running a little ahead of time and I wanna make sure you guys have time as well this morning to play around with any of these features.
I have a question about organization with Seesaw in the activity library.
Yeah.
I was looking at my activity library and it looks kind of like it used to look, where like everything's just available rather than like disappearing into a collection so that I just have a pretty collection folder list. Or did they update it a little bit? Do you want, am I making sense in my question at all?
Yeah, so let me try to explain how this breaks down. So anything that you ever create just goes into this like all section here, which can get to be like a nightmare, especially by the end of the school year. If you are good about choosing by the subject or choosing by different filters that you have, the best is by the collections. So like if I pull up literacy, it's just gonna give me my literacy activities here. to do it. So it's just about really tagging these as the collections, otherwise they get in there. I do like though the search feature. So if you know the name of the activity, so you're doing Bridges 3.1, you can search for it here.
Yeah, the problem is that I teach ELD like all day, every day. So like
Yeah.
I have 4 week 1, unit 2, day 3s because I
Okay.
teach it 4 times a day for different grade levels. So I think I spent some time this summer organizing them. I don't honestly remember. So I'll play around with it and make sure that I just keep on it. I like
Yeah.
things pretty in folders, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah, I would say that the collections are like the ones that are the best way to do it, but as you can tell here, I don't even follow my own advice, and I have 113 that are not in a collection, and that's my problem, that's all. I should be better about that. Feedback, great question. How do you do it? So my favorite way to give feedback for my students is, let's find one here where I have some responses. Oops. Okay, so here I have like Aaron, and to give feedback, I have a number of different ways down here at the bottom, and parents see your feedback as well, and they can give feedback. So one, you can just do like a straight up like, and then you can go a comment. You can tag it with like a skill and stuff in here, but the comments really do get read. I was working with a number of schools last year that were having a hard time with engagement towards the end of the year, just because it was getting towards the end of the year, students were just not turning things in. And as a region in the Southeast, I was working with the regional team, they found that the schools that were giving the most individual feedback had the highest engagement. So then we're like, is that just because of their population or what? So then we did a big push as the Southeast region to give feedback across all. And some of the teachers were like, wow, this is a whole lot extra work. But no joke, we have the data that when teachers were giving feedback, individual feedback to students, engagement like shot way up. So I can think of actually one 4th grade class at Southmore Elementary where the teacher was pretty hesitant to have feedback at the beginning. She started giving feedback and she engaged like 7 more students in the next month. And they were turning in their work like every day, and it was an amazing increase. And she then came back to me and was like, I didn't think it was gonna work, but yes, feedback was great. So the best way to give feedback then is by comment, because the students will get notifications when you give them feedback here. For littles, feedback can be recorded here, so you can just give a recorded feedback. So think of kindergartners and stuff, you don't want to give them written feedback, you can give them feedback here. Again, parents see this on their app, and they will be able to play the feedback from Miss Hunter as she's giving it, and they hear that voice, and it's just like a special connection. The kids love it. Whenever you give them audio feedback, they will click on it and they will listen to it. Or then you can have your comments here. A little like time saving thing I'll say for this is like social emotional. You can have comments like in a Google Doc or something that you just copy and paste. So you're like, for social emotional, be like, I'm really glad that you're here today. Thank you for expressing yourself. And you can just kind of copy and paste that feedback, maybe give it a little bit of variations and be like, oh, I'm really seeing that you need some help. I'm going to follow up with you later on, or thank you for coming here when you're having a hard time. And you can have individual feedback, or you can have those like copy and paste. What I call canned feedback is like you have those feedback that you give over and over again. Think of like writing. You're going to say like the same things, like use complete sentences, answer the question, restate the question, right? Like those things over and over again, and you can just give that feedback. The students don't know that you're giving the same feedback to the whole class because they're just looking at theirs. Sometimes it populates too. Awesome. And yeah, the voice comment, sorry, I absolutely loved it. All right. Yeah, and you guys are giving each other lots of feedback here. So the feedback, do it, like parents see it, students see it. It does take extra time, I know that, but if you try to give students at least one piece of individual feedback, even if it's a copy and paste feedback every week, it will make a difference. Like I've seen it, I've done it with teachers, and it absolutely works. So good question too. I'm loving the interactivity today. Okay, then as we wrap up, we have our Seesaw all-in-one. It's been dropped in the chat several times. We'll make sure to get it in there again. But we have the all-in-one that's always being updated. So we're adding more things, like as progress came out, we had a new progress video that was added to it. So this is a living document that's always being updated. So if you want to bookmark that, if you want to save it for coming back later, it's really awesome for Seesaw. We have it. If you have any other teachers that are struggling in your school and you want to give them some place to do, then like give them this, right? Like any new teacher in the building should have a copy of the Seesaw one-pager. Question about Nearpod. So Nearpod is great. I will just say it is very expensive. It does some features that that PearDeck does not do yet. And so as a district, we've gone with PearDeck. And I would say that PearDeck Premium has pretty much anything that Nearpod can do in the free. Nearpod Premium has some of its own features. So I would say now that we have PearDeck Premium for everybody, try that PearDeck. And I think that you'll like it. Anybody else then too want to comment on Nearpod? She's asking for the group.
I've never used Nearpod before. I'm sorry.
My take on it is similar to yours, Luke. It has a robust set of features, but for the price, PearDeck Premium is really comparable.
Got it. There we go. All right, so if you go into your Schoology, so it's just schoology.dpsk12.org, in your course list, you will see one that's called Advanced Schoology, or Advanced Seesaw, sorry. And there, then you will see a sign in and survey there. Love your feedback. We view your feedback always. So give me feedback, even if it's honest. Be like, he had too much energy for 8 o'clock in the morning, or he talked too much. Whatever you want to say, we absolutely read them on our team. And this is how you get credit for coming to the session. So I appreciate you all. I'm going to hang out here. If you have any other questions, make sure everybody can get the survey and feedback form filled out so that we're successful today. And we have another about 32 minutes of this session. So try some of these things out today. I want to give you back some of your time so that you can play around, but I will be hanging out in here for a while.